cell phone, etc. And this is America. There isn't Wi-Fi in every corner. Everything has a price. There, and truly, this was a deep village of farmers and tourists, mainly focused on their thermal clinic. There's ski and attraction during the season, but this wasn't the season. It was pretty deserted. It was the summer, so instead of wondering how I was going to get my degree and how much money I lost, I decided to enjoy the waterfalls, the volcanoes, the forest, the spas and carnival, and spectacles and food. I had a terrible first month. At first my aunt was very sick and tired, and I hated to make her life worse than it was, but I started to bring home some life to her garden by cleaning and cutting the bathtub, rearranging all house as she wanted, cooking and watching opera together, looking over picture albums and help each other mutually. But alcohol around me was making me sick and stressed. So there were days I felt very alone and misunderstood, and sometimes she was okay. Some days she was ill. I'll pick her up when she falls and get her to bed. I enjoy shopping for food a lot because I had missed seeing the food I used to see all my life, and every single thing was so good. I love trauma, goat cheese, blue cheese, fresh tuna, eggs, and turkey sandwich, discussion, pâté rillette, foie gras, croissant, apple turnover, cornichon, and all the meat were succulent food. Why, it was a dream come true. And I also started to climb, trail, and ski trail, and I was getting pretty fit. And the main attraction parcel is truly superb. It's like a year-long attraction, forest basically. Restaurant, OMG, I would stay all night, long eating if I could, but the best was their magazine and TV. I spent hours and hours filling my head with a very interesting subject. I woke in the morning with my favorite radio show and crack up myself up literally. Too bad, when we had visit, I was viewed as a weight and a loser who had gave up when in fact I never quit. I never surrender, and I was on a go 24/7, ever exploring or getting things done. Standing on job lines in interviews, in apartment tours, getting my son set up in daycare and with medical needs. I had to restart over, and getting all my French documents back, and the plan was to get a job, an apartment ASAP. I couldn't find any, so I got hired with the casino, but now couldn't find anyone who could watch my son in those hours. No, I could afford it, so I really got angry and frustrated. I was going to make great money, and now here I am being a caregiver, and seen as a miserable, worthless person. Not fair for someone who walked 20 miles a day, carrying 40 pounds of grocery and cleaning, feeding, caring for an older woman and an ADHD kid that I push on a stroller on mountain hills and trails, take on rains, bus trip for months. I was for some reasons too shy to talk to anybody, even to my aunt. I felt I couldn't get through to her to discuss anything, so it made me look like I was doing so miserably in life that I had decided to crash into my aunt's house in a mountain. Right, so false. Basically, I wasn't given a chance to speak my opinion. It hurt. Let me tell something. Being a sensitive human being is a beautiful thing. You shouldn't feel shame for it. You shouldn't change into a cold, cruel being because others hurt you feeling too much. No, you should embrace your sensitivity every day and use it towards your passions and talent and compassion for all of us. Don't turn into your abuser. That's my advice. I see it too much, and it results in sociopathy, and feeding on hurt feelings isn't happiness. It's a cheat way to pretend to be okay and living a lie. Like my outlet in writing, by example. Because everyone who knew me or far away, family and close families, had a grudge against me from the past. And yes, I had multiple bad relationships, but I also had many wonderful relationships with great friends and great people, and that count as well. It actually should count even more than some of my failed abuse relationships. while succeeding in other areas of my life. It was the last straw, and nothing I could do or say would change it. Basically, I was perceived as a liar and a user. But I know who I am, and I'm not that. I'm a honest and kind person, and I don't use people or set people up, or just show up at your door expecting to live in your home for life. I had received that treatment for 4 years by guys using love for free rent. So I pay off, and they squat and use your credit card behind your back. And while you're paying off your bills and restoring your credit, all you can hear is, you only have yourself to blame. You use those credit cards and you never pay them back, and you're not doing anything at all. You're a liar, a fraud, and dishonest person. In the meantime, I had set myself into a laundromat biz, but 2 weeks after acquiring the place, I realized how much knowledge I needed to have, and I started to interview people, but they were so aggressive and so on a money watch on everything that it looks like I was going to get in trouble fast, and the neighbor were smoky freaks who gave me the chill already. So far, I hadn't seen my friend Priska a bunch of time, but she was moving to Gabon with her boy. In the meantime, my son started school in September, and that was so great because he got to be in a French school, and I rarely even had a break since his birth, beside an 8 months childcare when he was a baby, and I needed a break. My best memories were seeing my grandmother when she came over for lunch, and the other time celebrating her birthday in delightful outdoor restaurant. I also went to visit her in her retirement home. It took 2 hours train to get there. I wish I had gone more often. But she seemed peaceful. I contacted a few old friends by phone, but it wasn't the same, and I couldn't be myself anymore. I was carrying too much burden, and I couldn't break free. I just wanted to feel good again and move on with my life. But it's hard to do when you have such hatred, negative feeling coming at you from loved one, and nobody is really reaching out. But a few who have, and for, I am very grateful to this day. I had found a great 1-bedroom nearby, but they only had the 4th floor available, and the stairs were super sharp. I wasn't feeling at ease having to climb those while carrying a 2-year-old and bags every day. No elevator. When I decided not to move in, the lady came banging like a madman in my aunt's home, while screaming by the door. I remember saying a few weeks went by and I hadn't found anything matching the rent price, and looked at she was offering, so my aunt thought I should go give it a try. And I know she needed her space, so I went back, hoping for the best. The weird landlord had every tenant looking like victims from a war battle. Everyone seemed so scared and so quiet. And there were a girl living with 3 huge dogs across my hallway with her boyfriend. I wanted to emphasize, but I didn't want any trouble or being taken advantage of, so I kept it to myself. We had a great view to the hill of the massif. It was spectacular to watch the sunset going down from your window. To me at least, since I hadn't been in this village since I was 19. This landlord called out my son to walk downstairs to get some candy. After I precisely told her I was afraid of my son's safety, I held his hand to go down, that he managed to go on his own. I thought this act was uncalled for, to get a 2-year-old to climb dangerous stairs. Someday she showed up just to continuously remind me of the rent, due date, and was annoying. Some weekend you'll find her in a wardrobe in a camper parked in front of the building, sucking up on tenant electricity with a generator for 2 days straight, with the noise being so loud we couldn't even sleep. But she owns everyone in this place, so she could do anything she wanted. I find it a little odd. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find peace within, and I couldn't reach out my conversation with this outside world. We are very brief, and I spend most of my time exploring the trails and picking up fruit, shopping, reading, or jumping in trains or bus to visit wherever I didn't see yet. Those were the most peace time I could find, but each time I find it, I'll turn around and see a man coming towards me, and or a group, or sometimes, just sometimes, running, and half of the time I would get an instant fear of being attacked. Fight or flight response, of course. Being on a deserted trail with nobody around and having some freaky looking people coming from behind you can be frightening. And there are demented freaks out there, or pervert. The world wasn't made of tulip everywhere, or roses, if only it was. There were that old guy always freaking me out. I'd be right down the river. He'll turn my head and he'll be right in front of me. Once he follows me down 3 miles, long almost. Those are the little things that when you're alone, you have to deal with. I'm not the type who will go hide in her room because she has no one to hang out with. So, to finish this story, I believe I reacted impulsively. The fear of not being accepted or being hurt was so intense. I couldn't breathe. Someday, I wish I had reached out to people more and tried to make some new friends and get integrated. But the pressure I was getting from my family constantly really ran me down so much so that I couldn't express my feeling to absolutely almost no one. A lonely road, it can get boring and sad, but I kept my head up and enjoyed every single day with talking in all the best. And when I feared my landlord too much because my payment was late, I left almost immediately. I took a train to Limoges, then a last-minute expensive flight to WA. And 2 days later, I was there, stayed 1 month, then moved to Vegas, stayed 6 months, then moved to Florida. This end. Morality and conclusion. Morality, when the brain is clogged with stress, hormones, and tension, you can't find clarity. All you can find is trying to avoid pain and suffering. My boundaries were gone. I was afraid to make friends and couldn't differ between respect and abuse anymore. I had let myself down because I heard too many close ones telling me I wasn't wanted or needed anymore. But inside I was fighting, and I did what I thought was the right thing to do, returning to America so I would be closer to my family, for me and my son. The rent allocation came 1 week later, and I had over $3,000, including my flight. I could have laid low, relaxed, and just moved to a different region. But I think, deep inside, I was tired of being alone and afraid. Now I see much clearer that I did then. And I think alcohol in your system also controls your emotion and multiples problem and stress by 5.